Mega Mac guys here on Birds 365. McMullen and McDonald, hour down, hour to play. In hour number 2, we'll be joined by our pal Jeff Kerr from CBSSports.com, NFL writer and host on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel of Good Morning NFC. A little downtime for the show, but Jeff will be back and he'll be with us coming up in about 20 minutes. All right, J-Mac, I wanted to we know when we talk Eagle free agents, Javon Hargrave, Bradbury, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, both linebackers, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham. These are the names that people talk about for varying reasons. Their importance to the Eagles this past year, what they could be in the future, what they've done for the Eagles in the past. A lot of different reasons that those names come first. There are a couple of guys that have had whatever level of success with the Eagles, or maybe lack thereof, in one other guy's track record, that are free agents that I want to get your take on. You've been an Andre Dillard guy since the Eagles drafted him, and since we started Birds 365 together. And I remember you telling me they're giving Andre every chance to start. Jordan Mailata is Andre Dillard's backup, and then he went by him like he was standing still. But they did. The Eagles gave him the starting reps, which means they, and Jeff Stoutland's a big voice in that room, had some confidence in Andre Dillard and liked things about Andre Dillard to give him that shot. Didn't pan out because Mailata became as good as he did. He's been the backup at a couple of different positions. We know left tackle is his best position, most natural position. Some people believe he's just going to step in and be a starting left tackle somewhere in the NFL this year. Any buzz on Andre Dillard? He's become the forgotten man because the Eagles have so many other priority free agents they have to deal with and talk about and think about. What's going to happen with Andre Dillard come next week?
Yeah, he's an interesting one. He's going. The only question is, what is the contract going to be? I think teams have gotten smarter, and because of what happened here, you don't have to pay him a ton of money, you would think. And this could be good value for. There's a lot of offensive line deficient teams in this league. We talk about it all the time. I'm in that category. He's going to be a starting left tackle. Now, the beauty of that from whatever team pegs him is you don't have to pay him like a starting left tackle, at least right now, at least until he proves himself. So I think he's one of the more interesting names in the entire league on the open market, because I think from his perspective, he should want to sign a 1-year deal.
I was going to say, is he going to do a prove-it deal?
I would do it. If I were Andre Dillard, I'd sign for 1 year, $7 million maybe, and say, all right. And then if he starts and plays at a high level, he's right back on the market making big money. I think the advice his agent's going to give him is to sign the prove-it deal. And wouldn't surprise me if it's $5 million. Wouldn't surprise me if it's $7 million. Wouldn't surprise me if it's $10 million, because there's so many desperate teams. But he's one of the more interesting names in the entire league on the market. And he's not going to be back here, and he's going to get an opportunity to start somewhere. It'll be interesting how desperate teams are. And teams have gotten smarter, but there's also still some dumb teams. There's also starting with the team with the number 1 pick in the draft. I don't like. It's a short sample size, but I don't like what Ryan Poles has done in Chicago even a little bit. And now he's in a position where, they got to make a decision on the quarterback. It looks like they've made their decision. They're going to go forward with Justin Fields. And if you knew that, maybe you should have built around them to begin with. You knucklehead.
Yeah, but they didn't. And how big a Fields fan I am. They didn't have the information they have now. Fields had a really eye-opening type season, even though the team lost as many games as they did. It wasn't Fields' fault that they lost those games. He needed to kind of go out and prove it to them. They were new to the Bears, so if it took them a little longer to come to grips with the fact.
Well, my question to you would be, and it's not, what did he prove to them? because he didn't get an opportunity to prove anything other than he was a phenomenal athlete and he made something out of nothing all the time. But everybody already knew that. I think as far as quarterback play, as far as processing.
John, you knew he was going to rush for 1,100 yards before the season started?
No, of course not 1,100.
Okay.
But I knew
we didn't really know, did we?
I knew he was a great athlete. I knew that. I wasn't worried about his rushing, whether that number was 700 or 1,100. I wasn't worried about that. I still know nothing about him as a passer. In fact, when I was in Chicago, and I'm going down a wormhole, I was not impressed because the processing time was so slow. Ball wasn't coming out of his hand. I was not impressed even a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I'm never going to predict any quarterback's going to rush for 1,100, but I knew he was a great runner. I mean, that didn't move the stick for me. The measuring stick for me is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that Bears Chicago game this year, and it's the one that Jalen, of course, got hurt in. And Jalen wasn't great either. It was the cold, about as cold as humanly possible guy should be asked to play in. I'm not going to make that my measuring stick of what kind of passer that Justin Fields.
Well, yeah, but that has nothing to do with processing. That has nothing to do with getting the football out on time, that kind of stuff. Everybody has bad games. But, I mean, I joked, with our buddy Mike Kay, my buddy, who we got to get back on the show at some point. I mean, you could judge that guy's decision making with a sundial. I mean, it was just ridiculous, and that's what I'm saying with Ryan Poles. What the hell changed? Either build around the guy or don't. And I've advocated that they should trade Justin and draft whoever they like in this year's draft. They're going to go in a different direction. But boy, I don't.
Which quarterback do you think is going to be better than Justin Fields, who's in this year's draft?
I would rather have Bryce with the size deficiencies and all. And I think CJ is going to be better as well. I think those top two are going to be better. But it's not a criticism of Justin Fields. It's a criticism of Ryan.
Exactly
Poles.
what it is. You can say it's not, but that's what you're doing. If you're
saying because they didn't help
guys
the kid
in the draft that you think are going to be better than him.
Well, that's not. I mean, so what? You might have the first pick and the second pick. I mean, they should be good. That does. I think I think they have a better chance. And part of the problem is they didn't help the kid. So now he's got a bunch
part of the problem.
But now he's got a bunch of bad habits. Now he's doing all this stuff and he's not getting the football out of his hands and he's trying to make something out of nothing and he's got a bunch of bad habits. That's what I'm saying. I don't like Ryan Poles is what I'm saying. You're taking it as I don't like Justin Fields.
He's saying he's got a bunch of bad habits. Did you really break down the film on Justin Fields' games week in, week out in the NFL this year?
Not every game, but I saw him play enough, and he's got a bunch of bad habits. That's not exactly controversial, Jody. He's got a bunch of bad habits. Look at anybody in their description of Justin Fields. He's very slow when it comes to processing and decision making. These are not controversial statements. I do not like what the Chicago Bears are doing, and I don't like what they've done to Justin Fields, and I don't like the GM, and it's a small sample size. But that was my larger point, and you're going down the Fields route. Focus on Poles. I think Poles is awful. That was my question of when I started this tangent. There's a lot of teams are getting smarter in the NFL, but there's still a lot of dumb teams. Not a lot. There's still a few dumb teams, and that's why I brought up Chicago.
And I think Brian Poles had a bad year. His first year out of the block wasn't great, and I thought they left Justin Fields with no weapons whatsoever on the outside, and really not much in the running game either, other than himself. So you're right. If you're evaluating year one of Ryan Poles, that's an F. But I'm going to give him year two, and they did kind of get lucky to back into the first overall pick. Lovie Smith goes and wins a game that gives them a chance to be in the catbird seat. Well, let's see what Ryan Poles does with that pick. Let's see how he can spin it off and get extra draft picks and plug guys in that they can be better. It sounds to me like you're writing off Ryan Poles. I'm not there yet. I'll agree with you if you go, what kind of year did he have his first year as the GM? F. That's an F, but I'm not firing him, so I'm going to give him this year because he does have not only the number one pick in the draft that he can turn into whatever bounty he can get his hands on. They also have, I think, the most cap flexibility in the entire league, if they're not the one of the top 2 or 3. So we'll see what Ryan Poles does this offseason. I'm going to give him another chance to prove that he's not an F general manager. All right, one other Eagle free agent I did want to ask you about is the backup quarterback. You talked about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson having a big personality, which is dead on accurate. Supposedly Gardner Minshew's got a big personality too. But if you're the backup quarterback to Jalen Hurts, I give Gardner this much credit. Be quiet and just go sit in the corner. And his 2 games he played this year, he did not get the job done. Most people think that the Eagles are going in another direction as a backup quarterback. Any chance Gardner Minshew's back here again?
Yeah, I think there's a small percentage. Again, I would say, less than 20%. One, Gardner fancies himself as a starting quarterback in this league. I don't think anybody is going to sign Gardner Minshew and try to sell to their fan base, this is our guy. I give him credit for having confidence in himself. This is the guy who said he didn't take dumps in the Jacksonville facility because he doesn't believe in number 2.
Not number 2, right?
I give him credit for confidence in himself, but I just don't think it's out there to where he's going to get that kind of opportunity. But where I do think he's going to get an opportunity is to go somewhere in a situation where he's got an opportunity to play because the starter is not as entrenched. Jalen's playing here if he's healthy. He tried it once. He walked into the office. Hey, I played well against the Jets. Can I be the starter? And Nick said, oh, settle down a little bit, Carter. He knows he's not going to be the starter here. So I do think somebody's going to sign him, to a $5 million deal to be a backup to a quarterback that isn't great. And he'll see that as an opportunity. If this guy gets benched, I'll have an opportunity to go in there and play. So I think it's unlikely. But the Eagles need a backup quarterback. I don't think they believe in Ian Book yet. So we talked about it with Tommy at, day 3 rookie. You're going to count on that guy as a backup quarterback. And look, Jalen's been a starter for 2 years, and you've needed the backup to play both years for a couple games. So the Eagles know how valuable that position is. You're going to go out on the free agent market and sign Jacoby Brissett. He might cost you more than Gardner Minshew. So there's a chance, but not a good chance.
All right. I'm ready to wish Gardner good luck in whatever venture he jumps into next year. And I think the way you describe it could very well be accurate. I do not believe he's going to be back here. I think the Eagles will go in another direction because he had his chance. I know he won that game against the Jets. I was there for that game, sat in the stands as a fan and watched last year the Jets. 2 years ago, the Jets defense was brutal. So he did a couple of good things. Yeah, everybody did good things against the Jet defense. If he had done that against the Jet defense this year, I would have been more impressed. Gardner.
Sauce would have got him this year.
Yeah. Mark that one down. All right. 2 other guys I want to ask you about. It's kind of a daily double. In season, Howie Roseman, when Jordan Davis went down and the first week the Eagles were run against pretty badly and it looked bad on film and the team racked up a bunch of yards with Davis being out of there, Howie reacted and he reached out and got a couple of veteran defensive tackles who were on the street in season, just waiting for the right opportunity. And surprisingly, Linval Joseph gets signed. And shortly thereafter, and Ndamukong Suh gets out. I thought when they got Joseph, all right, he got his guy. No, he doubled down and went and got another one. And both of those guys were part of the rotation. Joseph more in the Davis role as the big man in the middle. Either one of these guys think about coming back?
No, not in the conventional way. The exact same way that it happened this year. If they want to continue to play, both of these players have made so much money over their NFL careers. Um, they're not going to sit and sign with anybody for 1 year in the veteran minimum. They're not going to do it. They might do if they want to continue to play, they might do what they did this year and say, all right, let me ring shop. Let me wait until November and say who's good. And I'll come in for the prorated, try to get a ring. But no, I can't see either of those guys at the start of free agency saying, I got to get a deal done. I got to get it done. I mean, they've made so much money in their careers. They can do what they did this year. They can do the exact same thing. So if, the Saints just got Derek Carr, if they take off and, maybe they go play for the Saints in November, same thing, ring shopping. I think that's going to be a new market in the NFL. I really do, with veteran players.
Guys that sit till October,
Yeah.
somewhere thereabouts, and then but see, and it happened last year. There's no getting around the fact that both of the guys signed here with the Eagles, and the Eagles made it to the Super Bowl and were tied with 10 seconds to go in the game. So they came damn close to achieving their goal of ring shopping. It was a little luck involved that the guy just happened to get hurt. He was doing the job and keeping the Eagles as one of the better defenses against the run. And just kind of like the waters parting, it was perfect for them. You bank on that going into an off season, that perfect situation might not unfold in front of your very eyes like it did this past year.
Well,
Our guys like Sue and Linval Joseph taking a chance if they do it that way.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I don't think they care. In other words, I think they're at the stage of their career where they're not going to play 17 games for, $4 million, throw a number out there. They're just not going to do that. So, if it doesn't come up, they'll say, all right, I'm not going to play.
If you remember, and shame on me, I should know. So if you can fill in the blank for me, John, I'd appreciate it. What did they play for this past year? Was it prorated, or did they get more than that because of their names and the value? They didn't play all the games.
Yeah, they did get more than the
prorated minimum.
Yeah, they got more than that. I can look it up. I'll try to look it up as we're talking. Yeah, they did get more than that, but everything's prorated at that point. So Linval signed for 1 year, 200,000, 250,000 signing bonus, 125 per playoff win, so he got some extra money there.
Oh, good. That's always a good move. If you can get that put in and then your team helps you out and achieves it, that's a nice added dollar figure to your seasonal earnings.
So, yeah, and those guys aren't going to, they might ring shop again, but if not, they'll just walk off into the sunset.
All right, because they both did contribute, and just interested to see if you thought that they would put an entire year of football in. If you say no, I can't argue with you because you're right. They both made a lot of money off their career. That is not the main factor in their decision, or at least we don't think so. All right, he is John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. That makes us Mac and Mac here on Birds 365. Joining us next is Jeff Kerr, our bud from CBSSports.com and the host of Good Morning NFC East here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. We haven't talked to JK in a couple of weeks. Looking forward to stoking the conversation again with Jeff Kerr next here on Birds 365.